All right, so it's preparing to go live. This meeting is being live streamed. You good?
1 second.
All right, so it's preparing to go live. This meeting is being live streamed. You good? Okay, so I'm going to shut that off. And then I'll post that, and then I'll undo my screen share here. Stop share, and it's going to go back to us and record. Record to cloud. All righty. So this is Wayne here with Locksmith Live. We're going to try and do this every Monday, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And my guest today is Mr. Jareth Garza. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing very good. You are quite the controversial individual. And there's a lot of people that really like what you do, and there's a lot of people that may not like some of the things that you do. But at the end of the day, I mean, I can really tell that you are definitely a talented individual and you have a lot of potential. Do you want to tell us about some of the things that you're doing and that you're working on? Let us know. Tell us about Jareth Garza.
Oh, before I was into locksmithing, I was a high security lock picker and padlock collector or lock collector. And that journey kind of led me down this road of seeing what you can potentially learn next. And that's just basically in a nutshell who I am, is what challenge can I introduce to myself to try to conquer, you know what I mean? Right. So it started with pin tumbler, locks, like quick set stuff on my rentals and shit. And we would pin them up with spool pins and custom pins, try to make them harder. And we'd even trade locks, to try to challenge each other. And I bought my first locksmithing equipment from a locksmith who, ironically enough, had committed a felony in a different state. So he could no longer practice. And he sold me a storage unit of equipment for $1,500.
Wow.
And he's in the middle of nowhere. And it was a hell of a haul. It was like 2 blitz machines, a blitz punch, and already the money's there. A couple pack of punches, a T-code classic, which I sold for $600. Just a lot of good stuff. None of which I knew anything about at the time. So I had to bring everything back home and sit it in my room and learn.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you got into lockpicking doing that, and you wanted to make it more challenging. So you'd build your own challenge locks. You'd accept challenge locks from other people.
Yes.
Okay. And then you defeat them. And then what made you want to make that your career? What were you doing before you were a locksmith, and what made you want to change your career path?
I was helping or aiding with physically and mentally disabled people. And that will burn you out real quick.
I can imagine.
A lot of times they're abusive people because they're handicapped, mentally, and they don't even know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You deal with a lot of biohazard, a lot of stuff like that, and it ran out of challenges. Once you got to a certain level, your training and access to new information kind of stagnates. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you just become kind of a revolving door type of employee where, if he's not happy, we can find another. So
right.
that opened my eyes up to where I was highly expendable and also extremely bored. So always looking for something new in that sense. And in regards to the lock picking, the next step was making keys. The next step was, how do you make a key?
Right.
Next step was let's buy a key cutter. There's a duplicator and a code cutter. And, this is all new information at the time. So then you have to, find those and learn about them and master. So,
right.
And then with cars, you pick a lock, you make a key, but it still won't start because now you have the transponder or the immobilizer. So it's just layer after layer after layer. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. The layers is what makes it difficult and complicated, but it's also what you need to be able to peel back the first layer, to get to the second one, to get to the third one, so that you can complete the job. So you went from basically like home care, hospice type care type of stuff to to this and saw the lifeline and grabbed it and went down the rabbit hole. And now you're halfway to the center of the earth, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
You've come a long way. What year did you start the locksmithing?
It's kind of like, what year was is lock
What year
picking
did you go full time?
full time? I think it was 2015.
Really?
Yeah,
Great. Good
it's
stuff.
been a while.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And then, so some of the controversy is that you post a lot of this stuff online. What exactly is your motivation behind doing that? Are you promoting the Locksmith Academy? I see you've got that poster behind you, and we'll get to that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But what really was the main thing, the driving factor? Was it, I want to show people what I can do. People don't think I can do this right. This is my way to show them, that kind of thing? Or were you just doing it to help other people? A combination of both? Straight from your words, what was the reasoning?
All the above. I see Facebook, like, the groups as tribalistic almost. It's like, to me, it's like high school. You got the jocks, you got the nerds, you got this, you got that, the elites, as they call themselves. And, access to information is kind of controlled. And I was on the receiving end a couple of times of people being like, oh, I know the answer, but I'm not telling you. And I hadn't really done much, I felt, at least at that time anyway. My presence was nowhere except on your website,
Right.
and hardly even there. So I was like, I don't like the feeling of, one, being made fun of for not knowing something, and two, not given the chance to learn something, or like even the opportunity to prove yourself without, judgment. And so I took a lot of what I knew and what I was working on personally, off of Facebook, and moved it to where I could control, the content. And Facebook is devastating to a lot of people because you can post a question and anybody who's not blocked can comment the rudest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of putting the ball in my court, or my arena. It was also what I like to call cock swinging. Like, no, you can't do anything about it, which is true. But I think as I've grown, it's probably something I'd advise myself against today. If past self could talk with future self, I'd probably not go as hard. You know what I mean?
With posting things online, or with your academy, or with which one?
Online.
Online. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was, what we can go down some of the past roads here, and that was definitely one of the reasons. I mean, I'll go ahead and flat out say it. You were the one who started and built the Locksmith Nation Automotive Group. I mean, that was you when everything was really going down, and we all got removed from the other groups that started, from Locksmith Friends, and I decided to start Locksmith Nation and kind of do my own thing with it. You were one of the first people I reached out to. And you did a great job. I mean, there was a lot of information over there. You were getting a lot more talent at that time. You really had a lot of information to offer. And it was just one of those things where the public view posting just didn't align with our form, or whatever we wanted to call it. It didn't really line up with all of the other admins' idea of what one of those leaders, or what one of the admins should be, encouraging that. And so that's why we had to kind of part ways.
Also, Andrew McCauley was an admin at the time, and he had a very famous Honda roll pin video, to which he said himself that he would not remove because it's monetized and he makes too much off of it.
Right.
And secondly, you two have been under the spotlight with your YouTube and videos. So at that time, there was a couple of contributing factors as to why we parted ways.
There is, yeah. And I'm just saying what was on my end, and definitely interested in what, how that was received on your end. But really, it worked out great, because now you get to start your own thing. You've got your own academy going. You've done a lot since then. We didn't talk for a good year, maybe two, maybe a little more.
Yeah, it was way over 2 years for sure. Yep.
Okay. And then now, it's a lot more acceptable to have more content on YouTube. I mean, I always tell people, do I have videos that go on YouTube? Yeah, I do, but I don't have lock picking videos. I don't have, complete start to finish key, generation videos and things like that. And that's just where I've personally drawn my line. Everybody draws their own line wherever they want to draw it. And it's just a matter of where you draw it as to which one of those crowds you're going to kind of fit into, and which crowd is going to be able to accept you the most. You might get more people that like you online because you're giving that information out. You may have some of the older guys. I mean, the biggest thing is the old guard really just guarded this information to the point where the person who I actually bought my business from and trained me, it was at the point where he said when he was getting trained in his shop to shim a lock, to do a basic lock shim where you don't have a key for it, they would hold that under a rag and not teach each other in the same shop in California how to do that. So from that kind of secrecy to allowing this information for anybody to view on public ground on YouTube, it's fairly shocking for that particular demographic.
I think that's natural progression.
It is.
With what the internet is and offers. Like the whole idea of the internet upon its conception, not only just worldwide communication, was the freedom of the expression of information. And so honestly, as an American, and I hate to pull that bleeding, Star Spangled Banner argument, I just feel it's also my right to do what I want and not be compelled by another man's opinion to kind of do what they advise me to do.
Sure.
And so I could advise you that blue is stupid and red only wear red, Wayne. That's what professional locksmiths do.
Right.
And you'd be like, man, I'm going to ignore that advice. And so a lot of what I learned personally was actually taught through, the expression of, here's some cool things to know. I'd like you to know them too, because it was a challenge for us to become like the best lock picker. It was kind of, nobody really protected, the trade secrets of how to, do this or that in regards to that arena. And so I've kind of carried that ideology over here to this professional locksmithing, because it's also something that I mostly taught myself.
Right. Yeah. And that is one of the big differences with you. You are very, very self-taught. I mean, I don't know if you knew the whole story on my training too, but it was buy the business, you get a van, you get 90 days training, and then go figure out how to run a business and be a locksmith. That's what I had, and 90 days is not enough. Anybody can tell you that. It's enough to know what some general terms are, get some very basic things down. And then I too turned to the internet to try and find a lot of answers to those questions and didn't find a lot of information. So therefore, I decided to put that information out there because I beat my head against the wall trying to work on this thing for the last hour and a half. Maybe I can make somebody else's life easier. Now, when you take that philosophy and you pair it with some of the reasons that I don't have like safe opening videos and total complete generation key videos and things like that, or lockpicking videos, is I always think about, what about the parents that are trying to keep their kids out of medication or guns or firearms or things at the house? How would I feel if somebody used one of my videos to bypass a home safe? The parents aren't going to go on YouTube and make sure they buy the best one and make sure there's no bypasses for it, right? We have to use some basic common sense here. And that kid uses a video, finds a firearm, and blows his brains out. Or if they're addicted to medication and they get a hold of their parents' medication, they OD. I didn't want to have that on my conscience. And that's why I drew the line in the sand at where I did. And I think that's where some other people are coming from too. The whole point of security and locksmiths and locksmith industry is because these things are designed to keep people out. And if you're showing people how to bypass it, well, then you're not keeping them out. And then the security device isn't doing its particular job. Whether or not that person has good or evil intent, we don't know. But I think that's where a lot of controversy comes from too. What are your thoughts on that?
Everybody's in control of themselves for the most part. It's like if I bought a kitchen knife from, Walmart and committed a stabbing spree, Walmart wouldn't be held liable for, supplying the knife. I am, because it was my footsteps that carried me to the crime. So anybody who really uses that argument, the whole idea of information being criminalized goes again against the Constitution. That's just how I feel about that. But as for helping like people get into secure things, that was way ahead of me, way ahead of my time. That has been going on, like hobby lock pickers and the lock sport. That's completely that side of the arena. And I don't show how to open safes or anything like that, or medicine cabinets or carts. So basically what I've shown has required thousands in key cutters, programmers, skill on how to pick a lock, how to decode a lock, what system you're cutting, what blank, what transponder, what programmer. And people like to, say like, oh, that 2012 Ford Focus video of yours is just going to help car thieves everywhere. And I just disagree. I disagree with it, period. Because as you've seen, maybe you haven't, car theft is most commonly occurring right now, at least in America, with Hyundai and Kia, which most of the cars are not transponder equipped. And
Right.
you can bypass the ignition. So
Sure.
I don't know. I mostly started my education on YouTube. A lot of videos I've deleted because I felt their content quality was too high. I mostly just wanted to wag my finger in the face of people who said, no, you can't do it. And also the shit talkers who said I wasn't shit and I didn't know shit, just to let them know that perhaps I do. There's always two stories that you can hear. And I was deeply motivated by the environment I saw on Facebook.
Right.
So I guess I'm a product of my environment.
There you go. Well, and yeah, and everybody gets to choose their own line. You have different information than I do, and no two people think identically. So that's just the way that it goes. But I do appreciate that, maybe you did see that there was some extra value in some of those videos, and what you've taken those off of YouTube and then you've put them onto your Locksmith Academy page.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us about that a little bit? What motivated you to start the Locksmith Academy? What is the Locksmith Academy, and how can people become a part of the Locksmith Academy? By the way, I tried to scan your QR code. I don't know if the flag is a little
It's my camera's backwards.
Okay, so it's backwards. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I didn't know how to fix that. This is my first Zoom meeting. So
Not a problem. I'll post a link when this is an actual video. I'll post a link below so that they can get to it.
Appreciate it. The Locksmith Academy came about because you are somewhat responsible for this monster. You saw that I had the ability to create good content. And like you said, you were like, as soon as Locksmith Friends was still smoldering. It hadn't collapsed yet completely. Yeah. You were like, hey, help me with the auto side or something like that. And I was like, sure. So we created the groups and they gained furious momentum. They grew so quick, Locksmith Nation.
Yeah.
And I was making websites for wayneslockshop.com. Yep. What was the first video I sold to you? Do you remember?
I can't remember, my friend. I don't know.
Chrysler 200, 2015 Chrysler 200.
That's it.
All proximity loss. And yeah, I enjoy the process of making videos and documenting. And actually, like, there's a lot of failure associated quotes, like failure is a stepping stone to success. You can't have success without failure. Yeah. Failure is a symptom of trying hard or trying new things. And so it again gave me a goal to learn how to produce, learn how to do audio, learn how to do this kind of, something new to fold myself within. And it's addicting, to be completely honest. I have to make videos for like 6 months and then take a month or two off and just, decompress. But eventually you and I parted ways. So there's no more avenue to sell or profit from videos. And I have a vision as well. You're an educator. I'm an educator on an end game and, my castle in the sky, I suppose. So I chose Lightspeed as the platform because they give you the chance to make your videos interactive, like almost like augmented reality, like virtual reality.
Right.
On a scale of 1 to 10 on how interactive my website is at this time, it's a 1. In game, it would be like a 9 or 10, where you enter the school with one screen, you log in, and it's like, welcome to the Locksmith Academy. What would you like to learn today? And you could speak into your microphone and say Ford, and it will be like, let's explore Ford. And you will navigate basically through it like a video game. But there's a lot to learn and a lot to build. And so right now, the Locksmith Academy is mostly a curriculum-based academy with automotive videos, starting from how to unlock cars. Because step one, where I learned was, oh, we don't know if we lost the key. We think it's locked in the car. And so I would unlock a car. Nope, it's not here. Can you make a key? And I'm like, nope, I can't. So that was a gap I filled. So with Leashy, we go long reach tools to Leashy to open cars, because unlocking cars with a Leashy is a great way to learn how to use a Leashy.
Yeah. If you can pick automotive locks, I've heard that really sharpens your skills.
Yeah, 100%. And so we start there, and we also in making car key section, like our whole library on automotive key origination. We have over 1,000 videos. We show how to take locks apart, pulling door panels, knocking locks out, decoding wafers, leashy, impressioning. And still, I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface of what I have to show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every day a new tool comes out or something new is learned. So
exactly. And it's always going to change. And just because this worked before, I mean, just look, like we were just talking about a little bit before we got started, like the QuickSet Smart Key. I mean, there's 3 or 4 different generations of that thing now. And each time they improve something on it, to the point where it's actually a pretty stinking secure little lock right now. Ask any lock picker or locksmith to go walk up to one in the wild and pick one, and I bet you they're probably not going to. I mean, 95%, maybe even more. No way. No clue. No way.
I got to say, I like QuickSet just because of the fact that they. That's another thing in regards to the whole information sharing, is that we travel parallels in technology and education. Like the manufacturers are going to come out with something new because the old was being compromised by the counterpart. Okay, so you got the manufacturer or the bad guy or the locksmith. Anybody can be the bad guy, right? And we're learning how to make car keys. So the manufacturer introduces a reverse keyway or something like that. So we have to catch up. That's a big part. I forgot where I was going with that. I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Cat and mouse security. Then they catch up. They come up with something new, and then they'll catch up, and then they come up with something new, and then we catch up.
Yeah, QuickSet. That's what I really appreciate about QuickSet, is the fact that they've got an ear to the ground, because they saw us crunching over smart keys with the ugly little T-bar. Remember, where you just
yeah.
Then they're like, no. And then they introduced a reinforced sidebar or something. And then we're like, well,
Square.
you can decode it if you do this. And they're like, and they came out with something else. So, I just really, you got to respect that. It's really cool.
And now they've got, I don't know if you knew it or not, but I've actually got some sitting right here, but they've got Schlage keyway QuickSet Smart Keys now too. It's on the wrong side.
I've heard about that.
It's KW1 with an SC.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, so you got one. Here's the QuickSet. Here's the KW.
Does the Schlage use same space and depth as Schlage system?
Yeah, it does. It does.
So we're going to have nine gates to look for.
You're going to have 9 gates, but here's the dirty little secret that I found so far. You can take this lock apart and reset it, and you can stick a key in there like a factory cut Schlage key, or like maybe a better example would be this. If you took a Blue Punch or the most accurate key machine you can think of, and you cut all 5s and you set it to all 5s, right? When you take that lock apart, the sloppiness inside, one of them might be at a 6, one of them might be at a 4, and then 3 of them might be at a 5. So it's still got tolerances in there, and it's still got a bunch of ways to defeat it. And then the quickset ones have a little ball bearing, no ball bearing anti-drill protection in the Schleg yet. So
Yeah,
I'm sure it'll
they'll
still
catch
go
up.
through a few. Huh?
They're going to catch up.
Yeah, they will. They will. They always do. It's just, it is kind of cool to have something new come out and then have a new toy to play with and try and figure out how to defeat it, reverse engineer it. I agree. That is what has me addicted. That is why I enjoy this profession and this, this whole thing so much. And then again, now that I have a little bit more time in the game, now that I have a lot more connections, now that I know a lot more people, I can scratch that itch of training people through those avenues of trade shows and associations and my own content. And that's why I don't feel I have to dump so much for free on YouTube all the time anymore as well.
Yeah, I hardly upload to YouTube anymore anyways. And when I do, it's nothing of significant value.
Right. Yeah. Well, good stuff. So what is, like, we've talked about what the Locksmith Academy is and how it navigates. Is it an app-based program or is it a website? Which one is it?
All the above. So they have their own app, and the website works, on mobile as well. So all bases are covered in regards to that. And it's pretty seamless. Yeah. So everything's measured on there. It's literally, a statistician's dream. Any video you click on, we can see. You take test result, or you take tests on the video, because what's the purpose if not to learn something new, right? And
Right.
so we can pull people, POLL, pull them and see, where we mess up. Like if in a video I'm showing Nissan 10 cut, you should, by the end of it, know how many depths are in the system. So if people consistently fail that question on the test, I know that I've probably not done a good job at articulating that fact. Or if like one person misses that question, I can reach out to them and be like, have you received clarification, and maybe offer some independent or personalized training as a result. Right. It shows everything. It shows how long you're on, how long it takes for you to finish a test. And if you ask us a question via email or text support, you call us, we can actually assign content to you after the phone call. So the next time that you log in, it'll be right there, presented to you. Like, here is your personal training assignment and stuff like that. So like I said, we haven't 100%, cracked the technology, because they're updating constantly too. They're a hell of a website. So, we have a file vault that holds PDFs and, JPEGs, like locations of modules, pinouts, EEPROM processes, stuff like that. We have it organized by manufacturer. So you'd click making car keys, and then it would show Ford, General Motors, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, etc. And every time you click a folder, it breaks it open into more folders. So it's pretty crazy. It stresses me out how I feel like I'm wasting the potential of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because I know there's things that I'm not doing properly that I can do. It's even got like a Facebook on it, in a way, where people can comment on videos.
Like a community.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of locked into where I'm at on mine. I've thought about trying to go down the app route and everything, but it's like, if you look at the income and the target audience, the main problem that I always run into is there's just not a whole lot of locksmiths out there. See, our demographics to who we're selling to is who's out there, who is a locksmith. Very, very slim percentage of the population. I think it's probably 1% or less. And then now you need a locksmith who's not so old that they can't use technology to be able to access your information, and you have to find somebody that wants to learn. So that's kind of the new locksmiths, the young up and comers that are coming up right now, is really the target demographic for that. And really right now, how many new locksmiths that are willing to pay for information are really out there? 10,000, maybe.
I don't know. I think you can create those people. And that's another strong pillar of belief of mine that I stand upon is Kokomo Luck was the guy long time ago. Oh gosh, I was 21 maybe. 13, 14 years ago. He taught me how to pick spool pins, on this antiquated forum that we were all on, keypicking.com, actually. And hey, if anyone was on there and recognizes that website, I was Mr. Sour. So just in case. But he was a locksmith who was retiring, and he was teaching people, kind of insider tricks. And
He was on YouTube a lot, right?
He was. And that's back in the glory days of lock picking and such. No leashes. I mean, leashy came out, and they were like $200 or $300 whenever they first came out. It was incredible.
For automotive only.
Yeah. And there were two parts. There were the track and the pick. You had to put the track in, and then you put the pick in. So they were a little different. Yeah. But yeah. The freedom of that information right there really helped me see the fun in picking past security pins, because at first they were, they'd instantly fail me. And then he was like, you just have to treat it like the hands of a clock. He's like, if you're tensioning, clockwise, when you encounter certain security pins, you'll set the lock more clockwise into a false set. You find your binding pin, and it's going to move the clock back a hair. And that's how he explained it to me. And now I have no issues whatsoever. I can pick Medico and multi-lock, all the automotive locks, all of them. So except sidebar equipped locks, but you see what I'm saying? It's just another rung to the goal ladder.
Right.
The objective is to keep climbing, never to stop.
Right. No, that's good. Yeah, it's universal laws. You're either growing or you're atrophying and you're dying. Doesn't matter if it's you as a person, your business, your anything. Just universal laws. You're either getting better and improving, or there is no standing still. And
you're either trying or you're dying.
That's it. You're trying or you're dying. That's it. And like what you were saying before, the quote for the difference between a master and an apprentice is the master's just failed way more than the apprentice has. That's all it is. Just way more rough and tumble, bumps and bruises along the way.
To me, the apprentice is afraid to fail, where the master is not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, master doesn't care. He knows he can fail and still try a different approach and still succeed. The apprentice thinks they fail on the first time. They think of themselves as a failure.
Or that they owe the customer a car or something like that,
Right. Yeah. So what is the future for Locksmith Academy? You're just going to be adding a ton more content to there? Or are you going to be reaching out to other people to try and help supply content? Or, I mean, it sounds like you could make this thing a full-time job, but you're obviously still doing your locksmith stuff on top of that, which that's the same boat I'm in. And it doesn't matter how many trucks you get going and how many employees you get going. I still feel myself being dragged back into the field every time.
Therein lies my biggest issue, is that creating a project like this is a double-edged sword, where it took me away from everything else for a while. And those times and energy I can't get back,
Right.
And so I'm a divided person in regards to how I can build either of my projects, or any and all, because these are not the only ones. And so I don't know, I've been kind of reflecting internally a lot on how far I really want to take this. I see potential in many directions where I could sell it, I could evolve it, I can build it as it is, maintain course kind of deal. But probably the progress will be an evolution into what I described earlier, and try to get it to be as seamless and interactive as possible. And that will take an involved effort with all the content creators, me, and also the company that runs, the software of the website. Right. I see Brad Lee's vision. Brad Lee he's a smart man. And he started this platform to help sell courses of his own. And, through, he always looks at himself and studies himself, and he thinks, what could I have done better? problems are here, what can I fix, what can I add, etc. And my biggest thing to think about is, what would my competitors do if they saw this? And then I try to play a little 3D chess, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So ultimately, this project is going to be mine to bear, and eventually I will give up on serving the public in any way in regards to locksmithing. The only thing I would continue to do is to accept challenging jobs and not mundane, rekey of a house kind of stuff,
Right.
Only, I guess, the school is going to be the main focus for a while, and I'll keep the business floating, for as long as I can, until it
Yeah.
becomes a waste of time.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm trying to make it to where, big, really big, expensive, complicated, safe installations and opens are really what I try and reserve myself for, or, big electronic access jobs and things like that. But other than that, just the same day-to-day rekey stuff, I'm really, really just kind of out of that. It doesn't inspire me. It doesn't make me get out of bed anymore.
We sound very privileged, like, oh, it's not good enough for me, but
Yeah, but it's
I've got
kind of
other,
been there, done that, and growing. It's
yeah,
that growing thing.
yeah, and a lot of times customers will hear my quote and just be like, well, I can just go buy new locks for that. And I'm like, yeah, you can, sure.
Yeah.
Have fun. So
Right.
I don't know. I really think personally that I say this as a kind of bait to start an argument with old people, old locksmiths. Like, if you don't do EPROM, you're not an automotive locksmith. And people will be like, oh, listen here, whippersnapper, I've impressioned 1 million keys and blah, blah, blah. But the way I see it nowadays is technology is becoming more and more involved, period.
The
That's probably going to be.
technology is actually outdating the skill. Leashy tools made impressioning as great of a skill as it is, and I think it's an extremely valuable skill. It made it obsolete. You didn't
I'm
have to have
a story. Let me
Go
pause.
ahead. Go
All
ahead.
right. So first, I have a saying, and it's leashy makes it easy. And secondly, when I was teaching at the TLA trade show in Austin, in the back of the classroom, one of the people sitting in my class was like, have you ever had a Mexican Ford? And I was like, what? He's like, Mexican Ford. I'm like, a lot of Fords are made in Mexico. And he's like, yeah, but this one was different. He said, 5 different locksmiths came out to this Ford, and it was like an Explorer, a 2005 Explorer. He's like, we could all leash you the lock, pick and decode it, but every key we cut wouldn't work. It would work none of the locks. And he went on with the story for about 5 minutes. I was like, so other people came. He's like 4 or 5 other locksmiths. All of us failed. They had to send the Ford back down to Mexico. I said, why didn't anybody impression it? And he just was like, right. I could tell that had never crossed his mind until I asked him at that moment in time. And it kind of shell shocked me. So then we watched the video on how to impression that I made. You know what I mean? It's a pretty good video. And they gave a little light applause, kind of, because I was like, boom, like I would have impressioned it. If code cutting has failed 5 times, then there's a variable that they're not accounting for. You know what I mean?
Right.
Something's up. So if you impression, that key is going to be tight,
Yeah.
unless so it's going to be tight.
It'll even turn over and it might be tight, but you can then take it out later,
You can
but
refine it.
But you can have a working key that's worn into the lock. It's going to be what the lock is. The lock tells no lies. That's what I always tell people with impressioning. The lock never lies.
Well, it can with a gummed up wafer.
Yeah.
Because it won't mark. It's like, I'm not here and I know you're there. All right. So yeah, that was just kind of something like technology, as what I was saying, is technology, I spilled my coffee. Technology is catching this roll tide into our industry, where manufacturers don't want to deal with stolen cars, or they don't want to deal with this or that. And so they're trying to take away the ability to create what they give us. You know what I mean? They no longer want to give you a key. They want to sell you a subscription.
Yes.
And so I feel like in order to maintain my relevance and my competency, it's best to learn how to get into coding and electronics now. You know what I mean? Because right now, the automotive locksmith can get away with not doing any EEPROM. But I say 5-10 years out, most of it's going to rely on some form of double EEPROM process, or hooking wires to a BCM module.
That's where you see the automotive industry heading. Is it's going to be your key's going to be on your phone. You need to pay the subscription. You got to keep the internet going in it, and people want to pay for convenience. And as long as you keep making the payment, this is your key. Basically,
I think the future key is going to require a 3D printer to produce. That's what I think.
Like a metal 3D printer or plastic or what?
Yeah, either one. Also, 3D printers are going to print food in the future. That's obvious. So, it's not a big jump to print a concrete house, to a polymer project, to metal, to food. So I think the manufacturer wants to cut out people who put their hands on their product, where a percentage is taken out from, customer to manufacturer. They want to remove
all of
those
that
variables. Yeah. So that's why transponder technology kind of exists. It's that parallel competition between us and them, where we can make the keys only, and then we crack their system and they come out with a new one.
Right. Yeah. That's why my main focus is on storefront and safes. People don't like to move them, and they don't go anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff. We've had you on for about 40 minutes or so here. And what would you like to leave us with? What do you want everybody to know about the Locksmith Academy and about Jareth Garza as a person, as a locksmith, as a educator, and as a person in general?
I will never stop growing and never stop learning. So that's just something that if people don't like me, they're going to have to get used to. And additionally, towards the future, I see it as like the Starship Enterprise. I want my website to be beautiful and awe-inspiring. And I want it to make me a lot of money, but I want that to be fruits from my labor and not bending the knee to, a distributor or some corporation. I want it to be something that I attained through, my work, and not some, sellout or cop out method. You know what I mean? So that makes it hard for me, because all work and progress is basically dependent on me, no outside help, but it also makes it more glorious whenever it comes together. You know what I mean?
You did it. You know that you did it. You put in the blood, sweat, and tears, and you get everything that you got coming back out of it too.
Yes.
So good. Well, good. Well, I appreciate you taking the time this evening. I wish you the best with your Locksmith Academy, and I wish the best to you for your business and everything that you're going to do in the future. And maybe we can do this again, or maybe we can work on a project or something in the future and help some more people out.
I'd like to challenge you to a lock picking contest at the next convention that we go to. Yeah.
If you'd like me to join you, I will sure do it, but I will already tell you now, I'm a horrible lock picker. I always have been.
You got to lose in public.
Got to lose in public.
Got to lose in public. All right, man. I appreciate it. And likewise to all future endeavors. So until next time.
All righty. Have a good day, sir. Thank you.
You too.
All right. Recording's over. Let me see here. I got to kill the live stream.